to another edition of the Student Fire Podcast, live from the Speak Fire studio. My name is Bobby Berg. I'm a motivational speaker for schools, and I am here to help you live your best life today. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Student Fire Podcast, live from the Speak Fire studio. I'm your host, Bobby Berg, and let's get this out of the way quick, because I've had this idea rolling in my head for the past 10 minutes, and I can't. We got stuff to do today. So I want you to take 5 seconds of silence. I want you to really be in tune, and truthfully, I want you to be honest with yourself on how you're doing. If it's good, great. If it's bad, if it's depression, if it's anxiety, if it's frustration, whatever it is, I want you to be really brutally honest with yourself here. 5 seconds, and just really be one with you. 3, 2, 1, shh. Now, how was that? No, really, how was that for you? How was that being honest with how you're doing? Now, I'm sorry if I sound a little amped up and a little over the top today. Let me give you the backstory. I just got out of a coaching session with a new student. They've been having a lot of trouble in school. They've been doing classes over Zoom, and they got into a little tiff with their teacher. This student has a lot of trouble paying attention. And not just paying attention, but when it comes to reading. They don't mind reading. They mind when they have to read a lot of work. And then for instance, their teacher is asking them to read half of the chapter during class, which is fine. You know, it's a different strategy, but it's fine. So they have to read half the chapter. And then once the whole class gets there, the teacher will go back and start asking questions as far as like what's going on, what happened, what are their thoughts on this motif, what is the character's motivations, what are the antagonist motivations, so on and so forth. This student has they've been struggling with this for the past month that I've been working with them. Well, I told them, start taking notes on the side. Well, their teacher got upset with them because they said they weren't paying attention. And I said, okay, that's not true. That's not true at all. What I want you to do is I want you to tell your teacher, I'm paying attention. Because we've all been there. We've all done something that's quote-unquote not exactly what our teacher wants, and then you have to explain yourself a little bit. And that's normal. Your teachers are people. They make mistakes. They might not fully understand the situation. And truthfully, if you're looking down at your work, or you're looking down at, off screen for, a couple seconds, I can completely understand where your teacher would go, they're not paying attention, are they? What are they doing? So when they tried to explain it, the teacher said, yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, but that's not how we do things in my classroom. So they're not allowed to take notes. They said, if you're really paying attention, you should understand what you're reading. You should be able to repeat back to me what you've read. And I got really frustrated by hearing that. So this went on for another week, a week after that, and my student said, Bobby, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm really angry going to this class now. And I said, I'm angry for you. Your teacher's being overbearing. They're being moody. And truthfully, there's some underlying issue going on here. And this student they're a very, very proud person. They work very hard for every single grade they get. Grades do not come easy to them, so they do spend their whole afternoon, their whole evening after school studying. And I know because I've been on the phone or on Zoom with them for 4 hours working with them the whole time. To the point where they don't even have dinner sometimes with their family because they're too focused on studying. And what absolutely breaks my heart is this student looked at me and said, Bobby, and they started to cry. They said, Bobby, I'm doing every single thing that I can here. I'm doing my best. I'm legitimately doing my best. And this is the result that I'm getting. And I'm tired of it. This is why I don't want to go to school anymore. For all of my teachers that are listening to this, I want you to understand something. You don't always know the whole story. You don't always know all of what's going on. And all my students that have experienced something similar, it's not your fault. If you are doing literally everything in your power to succeed, if you do everything that you can, and I don't mean I've done a lot of work, I mean you've done everything. You're working with your teacher one-on-one. You have a tutor or a coach. you're working with them diligently, you're studying, you're logging your study hours, you're actually doing the work, then your teacher needs to take their foot off the gas a little bit. I know there are some coaches and teachers that are going to disagree with me and say, no, this is when you push the student harder. Yeah, sure. But what happens when that student gives up because they can't push any harder? You might be able to push harder. You might understand that they have more in the tank. You might think that they have more to give. But for them, this might be the hardest that they've ever worked. This might be the single moment where they go, you know what? I have never done more in school than I have at this class in this exact assignment. And for you to belittle them for what they've done because it's not to your standard is ridiculous. No student should be crying and feel awful about their grades when they're working a full-time job at school and then working another part-time job studying every single evening for one class while they're in high school. That is unacceptable. Unless they're taking all AP classes, which this student is not, mind you. They are not. This is not an advanced level course. This is not an advanced level course. This is a normal class. This is a regular run-of-the-mill class that everyone takes, but this teacher takes pride in the fact that their grade, what am I trying to say? The grades that the kids get at the end of the semester or the end of the school year are not high in their class. If you can pull off an A in their class, you are amongst the golden children in the school. So what do we do? No, real talk. What would you do? If this was your student, if this was your child, if this was one of your coaching clients, and they came to you and said, hey, this is what's going on, what would you do? Be honest with me here. Because I know what I did. What do y'all think I did? So this is your homework this week. I want a couple people to hop in my DMs and tell me what do you think I did in this situation. Because what I did is I called a teacher, and we had a chat. And here's where things get really spicy. So, a lot of you that have been listening to the podcast regularly, a lot of you that have worked with me or that even know me in my personal life or, knew me in school or whatever, you know that I don't give up. Yeah, we might fail this class this semester. That's cool. We're going to retake it. And we're going to take it again, and we're going to take it again, and we're going to take it again until the dean of students says you are literally not allowed to take this class anymore. Because I don't care if you fail a class. That's not a showing of you. That's not a showing of how you did. That is a showing of where you were in your life and how you learned at that moment in time. That's all that is. There's some crazy number, like among 74% of students don't know they don't know their learning style, let alone how to retain information, because all they've been taught is read the book. Here are some study tips that you receive from a teacher back in 3rd grade, and then again in 6th, and then again your freshman year of high school, and that's all you get. That's what we got. I didn't learn how I learned until college, and not my freshman year of college either. It took me halfway through my sophomore year to finally understand my learning style from another student that I was teaching, because they learned how I learned, and I learned as they were explaining to me in a lesson, here's what you do. So, when I called our teacher, they said, well, the student really isn't paying attention. I said, I understand, but as their coach, I need to talk to you because I really don't, something's not gelling here. I don't know what's going on. I'm not in the classroom, but I need to ask you what your perspective is. And they said, well, I just think the student's lazy. I said, they read and you can see their eyes glazing over, and then I hammer them with questions that are hard because I'm tired of them just messing around. I'm tired of them wasting my time and not taking this seriously. I want you to hear that one more time. They said they're tired of the student messing around and wasting their time because the student can't read that much information and regurgitate it during class. Now, as you know, this goes against everything that I think a teacher's doing. I think you're not teaching at that point. I think you are there to collect a paycheck. And I'm sorry if that sounds controversial, but your job as a teacher is to make sure your students learn and to be adaptable. You need to be able to change how you're teaching. You have to understand there are multiple learning styles. If you can clearly see that a student is not learning, you need to change something. You need to talk to them. Something needs to be different here. Well, I told them I didn't really agree with that, and they said, well, that's okay. You don't see them not working. I said, no, on the contrary. I'm with them anywhere from 1 to 4 hours an evening trying to make sure that they can implement some strategies to do better in your class. And they said, oh, what? Really? I said, yeah, they really don't do well in your class. They really don't. I don't understand what the issue is here. And they said, well, this is how I learned. And they got really quiet because I didn't respond. Can you believe that? I couldn't. I was shooketh, as the kids would call it. But really, I was shocked to hear that sentence come out of their mouth. I said, okay, well, I don't want to overstep any boundaries because this is your classroom and it's your classroom. How would you feel about potentially changing a couple methods just for them? Or maybe just for a couple other students too. And I said, well, what would you do in this situation? I said, honestly, if it were me, I would make the sections much smaller. If you're going to have them read in class, which is fine. I think that's kind of unique. That's kind of cool. If you're going to have them read in class, what I would do is have them read 1/8 of the chapter. And then start asking questions. Or maybe give them a list of questions, give them a PDF that has all the questions on it so they can look out for that as they're reading. Better yet, I would give them that PDF and go ahead and talk through it and see how those new questions could apply to the previous chapter to see if they've left any, foreshadowing clues. And go over that with the whole class first. And then send them off to the races and have them start reading. Let them fill things out as they're going. Maybe that would work. Better yet, what you could even do, I don't know how you feel about this, but maybe you could have some of your verbal learners read out loud to the class. So then your auditory learners are able to listen while they're reading. So now we're hitting both sections of their learning style, right? And then maybe things will work out. Well, I'll tell you what happened right now. The teacher took all my advice and tried it. Within 2 days, our coaching sessions after school went from, let's say on average, 2 hours down to 10 minutes. 10 minutes for this class because the student said, man, Bobby, I don't know what you said. I don't know what you said, but all of a sudden we're doing things differently and class works. I said, I didn't say anything. What do you mean? They said, no, I know you talked to my teacher. I said, how do you know? Can't prove it, trying to, see what happened. And y'all, here's what I really want to hit on. This teacher hopped on Zoom with a little sign that said, I'm sorry. And for the first 5 minutes of class, explained why they taught the way they did and why they, haven't been as attentive as they have. And they've been going through a lot in their life. Going through a whole lot in their personal life. They've lost, one family member to COVID-19. They've been struggling. It's been difficult. And every day that teacher tried to come in and at least pass on some hard knowledge to the kids. Was that their absolute best showing? Probably not. But they tried. That teacher apologized to every student in that room and said, listen, I'm going to try something a little different here. This is really out of my wheelhouse and I'm not totally comfortable teaching this way, but I'm here for you. If someone's not understanding something, please just, quietly type something into the chat just to me, and I'll see if I can change it up next, tomorrow. Y'all, in 48 hours, they turned that classroom around. In 48 hours, that teacher took everyone from being frustrated and upset and angry, or at least a majority of the students, to everyone looking forward to this class because now everyone in the room is understanding what's going on. We're not just hitting your verbal or your written learners, your reading and writing learners. We're hitting our auditory learners, our visual learners, our tactile learners are even getting something out of this. They took all this time and now the whole classroom is better because the whole class understands what's happening. The whole class is learning how they learn. They're not only learning how they learn, but the teacher is implementing every single strategy that they can to help the whole class instead of a fourth of it. It really hit me when my student said, Bobby, I'm doing my best. And I said, I know you're doing your best. And that's all that we can ask of you. Because I remember telling them, eventually things are going to get better. Eventually you're going to make it through this. Eventually, somehow, I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know when, but you're going to find a way through this class. You're going to find a way to make more sense of this. You're going to find a way to make it so that you're able to actually get through this class. I don't care if we have to take this class 2 or 3 times. You're going to get through it. You're going to get through it. Because I remember a time way back when we were... Who here remembers trying to learn how to tie your shoes? I remember in kindergarten, we learned how to do this. And the most embarrassing thing is I didn't learn things very quickly. So there would always be kids that pick things up really quickly, and they would be around helping everyone else. And this is how we picked out the shy kids, because the shy kids wouldn't want to say they needed help, right? Who here's done this? Who here remembers this? What did all of us say at least one time when we got super frustrated because you couldn't tie your shoe? I'm doing my best. As that one tear flies down your cheek in front of your whole class, and now you're embarrassed because you're crying because you can't do a simple task that you don't know how to do. It's frustrating, right? It's frustrating, and it makes you upset. But what happened? Someone showed you the way. Someone was kind enough to take the time to sit down with you and put their hands on your hands and move your hands where they needed to go to make the right shape on the shoelace, to do the loop-de-loop and the under and the tie and the bunnies, and they ran around in a circle, and the bunny's ears got locked together, and they went underneath and they got stuck, and boom, your shoes were tied. Now I know most adults don't use the bunny ear method because that's seen as childish, but I'll fight you. But really, think about this. Someone took the time to show you the way. Someone took the time to show you what it means to really learn. They were patient with you. They were understanding. They didn't belittle you because you didn't understand something in the way that they did. They said, okay, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to work with you until you get it. And they might not have known what they were doing, but they were trying to find your learning style, and they were trying to show you what yours is. What I want you to do this week is I really want you to go and be patient with someone that's struggling. I want you to be patient with a student, with a colleague, with a classmate, with a coworker, with a family member. I don't care who it is. I want you to be patient with them in something they're struggling with. And I want you to try and, if they're open to this, first off, but I want you to try and show them how they can think their way through this problem in the way that they learn, not in the way you learn, in the way that they communicate, in the way that they understand things. I want you to be patient with someone, and I want you to see the sheer amount of joy that will just come over their face when they really understand how they learn, and they've really thought through the solution. They found the solution. They have done it, not you. It wasn't handed to them. When they really took the time to understand what it is. And please, for all of you that have been doing your homework and hopping on my DMs and be like, Bobby, dude, I did this. Thank you so much. It was amazing. Like, I love you for that. You're awesome. Thank you. You are the reason that I'm able to go on these long rants like this and keep people's attention. It's amazing. It really, truly is. So, that's all I have for you on this one. Do your homework. Be patient with people. Be patient with people. It really does make a difference. Hope you have a wonderful week. I love you very much. Remember, you matter. You are so incredibly powerful. You have so much potential. You know what this world is made of. You know that you make a difference. If you don't know it, trust me, you do. I will keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. You matter. You are important. You are powerful. You are loved by so many people, even if you don't see it. And most importantly, I'm so proud of you for taking that first step to being the best version of you that you can possibly be. I will catch y'all in the next one. I love you very much. Peace. Whew, that was another awesome episode of the Student Fire podcast. Thank y'all for sticking around for this long, but I got a question for you. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? See, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions, like how do I record an episode? How do I get my show to apps? Like, do I have to do it individually, or can I just have one place that does everything for me? And most importantly, how do I make money from my podcast? Is that even an option? Well, honestly, y'all, your answer is Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it is 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors that want to advertise on your podcast. Yes, you. That means you can get paid to make the podcast. You can get paid to podcast the right way. In fact, that's exactly what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. If you want to get in on this, if you want to make your podcast a reality and you want your success and your word to be a thing, man, you already know. Hop over to Anchor and give it a start. You won't regret it. Catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.
I got you.
It's coming. Are you ready to ignite the fire?
We are Speak Fire.
Oh, and by the way, that's fire with a Y.
What's going on, everyone?
Internal fire.
Student fire.
Young fire. Father's fire. Leadership fire.
Champion fire.
Unlocking the fire within.
Thank you all for tuning in. Let's grow.
Speak fire.
Speakfire.com.
Speak Fire with a Y.
We have a new episode that comes out every Monday at 4 a.m. Are you going to be up with us?
Deuces.
I am excited to bring you my new book, Trendsetter, 7 Steps to Radically Stand Out to Be the Best You. This book details my journey of coming to the United States and being excited to embrace the American culture. But unfortunately, my culture was not accepted, and I found myself being bullied as a young girl. And in this process, I decided that I wanted to disconnect from my culture to be more accepted into American culture. And through that process, I got so depressed from trying to fit in that I attempted suicide my freshman year in high school. So this book talks about the journey of what I did to become radically transformed to be the strong woman I am today. This book is something that's really going to enable the reader to understand and embrace who they are, embrace what makes them special, and become radically transformed. Get your copy today at becomingatrendsetter.com. Again, that is becomingatrendsetter.com, or check it out at my website at aishathomas.org.